Hi and welcome to the Creative Treehouse. My name is Robin Broom and I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Thanks for joining me in the Treehouse today. Today's project is one that I'm really excited about. It is a card. It's a New Year's card and it's got components of old and new, which I think is sort of pretty cool as we see the new year in. And you may not recognize the stamp set that was used in the front. That's because it's a brand new one that comes out live in the new catalog, the new mini catalog, in just a few days. And it's called In the Moment. And it's one of those fun ones that, or I think they're fun, that has all of the neat outlines that you can color. And what else? The sentiment comes from the best year, and that is in the new the regular annual catalog. And then I used these two fireworks, or from the Garden Wishes. It's the dandelion, and I just took away, before I did all the gold, I took away a little bit of that one so they didn't look the same. And to help them look more like fireworks and not dandelions, I did utilize an old stamp set, the birthday backgrounds, to use the what looks like fireworks right there. So those are the stamp sets that were used, and of course you used Stampin' Blends for the girl. But the cool part of this card is not just the outside, but it's the inside. Isn't that neat? Yes, Happy New Year 2022. So, and we are going to do this video in two parts, all right? This part is part one, and we're going to do just the front of the card. And part two will be the inside, to show you how to do the mechanism and everything to make this really cool pop-up card. So let me show you another version of the front of the card. It was a little tricky to decide because it's nighttime fireworks. You want it to be really dark, but then I think visually this one actually looks better. So we're going to probably go with something more like this, but possibly half and half. We'll see how it turns out. So let me tell you how I made the front of the card. And we start with just a piece of very vanilla, and I cut it just a little bit smaller than the 5.5 by 4 1/4. It just ended up being the 5 1/4 by 4. So just to give you a little bit more wiggle room. I used the girl's stamp. I stamped her in soft suede, and I stamped the sentiment in Night of Navy. Now I've already stamped those because I actually used my Stamparatus to just be sure that I had them exactly how I wanted them. So I've stamped those, and then we will color the girl. But actually what I normally would do is I would go ahead and do the embossing. And I used the stamp, like I said, the dandelion. And of course you have to cover up the stem of it when you do it, otherwise you'll have a dandelion stem hanging in there. But I just used the Versamark, and I used gold embossing powder, and I actually had just a little bit of dazzling diamond left over, and I used that also. And I don't know if you can tell if I wiggle it around, if you can see. And I also used some of the Wink of Stella to just give it a lot of extra glimmer, but I don't know if the light is catching that enough for you to see it. Okay, so and then I went ahead and did one up, and this is what it looks like before you've colored it. So this one is done with all the embossing, and like I said, I just took the end of a pencil, the eraser, and kind of, after the powder was on there, I actually sort of just moved it and slid it aside so that these would look a little different. But anyway, so now it's time to get all the color on here. So let's get out a piece of paper so that we don't mess up our surface, and we will be using one of the wonderful blending brushes. And color wise, we will be using a Balmy Blue, a Pacific Point, and a Night of Navy. So let's go ahead and brush up with the Balmy Blue. And I like to put my finger here because the neck of the brush is fairly skinny, so I like to put a finger here and take the head and just wipe it this way across. All right, and then I don't find it happen with the lighter colors like balmy blue, but a lot of times it's easier to kind of go swirl off just a little bit so you don't get a blob. I find the darker colors seem to blob more. All right, before I go any further, let me tell you what I did. I got one of the sticky Post-it notes that's sticky all over. I stamped the girl, and then I cut her out with my paper snips. Now when you do make a mask this way, you want to cut really pretty much on top of the lines. You don't want to go out just outside the line, because otherwise you'll end up with white all around. So you pretty much want to cut just right on top of the line. And now you've got the mask. You don't actually have to do all the little posts, because we're going to be using the Stampin' Blends, but that way she's all on there. Looks she may be off to the left just a touch. Let's see if we get her on there a little bit better. I think that's better. All right, now we can go put the color right up to her and not have to worry about it. All right, and close to her, we're going to make it a little bit, we'll make it lighter, and we'll make the sky dark, especially as it goes up, as it goes higher in the sky. And like I said earlier, I think the dark was really great as far as the fireworks is concerned, but it doesn't really work as far as the colors and the stuff in the card. So let's see, I'm gonna bring it down. We'll make it go right sort of under her, but I'm gonna leave it to where there's a little bit more white around the lettering. We'll make it more of a contrast. Well, I just talked about that blob and that it didn't happen with the lighter colors, but I managed to blob that one. All right, let's see, maybe it's an explosion with the fireworks. All right, just for a color variation, I'm gonna go to the Pacific Point and do the same thing. I'm gonna start at the top and just add, because it just helps to have several colors, I think, and not just the two. And there again, it seems to kind of have blobbed just a wee bit. Okay. All right, and then we'll move to the Night of Navy. And a lot of times I found that it seems like I actually used the blending brush along with a sponge dauber for this one. So, and one of my attempts, I also decided to try to make it lighter around each of the fireworks, and it sort of worked, but not exactly. And that was one of the reasons I was trying out the sponge dauber with it. But the blending brushes are just awesome. I just really, they're fun to play with. They're so soft too. So if you don't have a set, I highly recommend them. I know they were on back order several times during the year. So it's the supply. The stuff has been a little crazy. Let's see how we're doing. All right, I think I'm gonna go back and do a little bit more of the balmy blue close to the girl. Go off just a little bit, make sure, since I'm going from dark into light. Let's see, we'll get more blue around her. Maybe we'll make this left-hand side a little bit bluer, a little darker as we come off to the side. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Let's compare it to this one. It's definitely lighter than this one. And is it any darker than this one? Not really, I don't think. So let's do this little tad more. Let's go back to Pacific Point just for a minute. Get a little bit darker maybe with on this side. Okay, and do some more Night of Navy on that side. Let's see how that will be. We can kind of get that look. All right, that looks good. I think we're going to stop there. Now gradation. And then we are going to do the Stampin' Blends. Now, I personally love to color. And what I'll do is I will just start it. I won't do the whole thing because some people don't like to color. Some people like watching people color. Some people don't like it. So I'll try to do about half and half. My original mask, I did not cut the different little posts out, and it was just fine. So isn't that neat already? I just love the contrast. All right, actually, let me do for some reason the fat tip on this is the light old olive. And something I thought was that if these were exploding, that the very edges that were closest to the fireworks would actually be the lightest, I guess. And so thinking about how to shade the hat. So, and then if you're not familiar with blends, oh my goodness, they are amazing. So wonderful. Okay, there again, I'm imagining that the very back of the hat will be the darkest, because that's where the fireworks will not be hitting. So we'll just kind of go like that. And then we'll blend. Now you get to see why they're called blends. I'll take my light again. That was the dark that we were just using. And I'll just kind of blend it out a little bit. And it just looks really, really good. Let me see if I can get right up there in with her fingers just a little bit. All right. And then if you'll notice, there's a little bit of white right here. And we can just take first I'm going to take the light balmy blue and go around it. The same here with her hand, any of those. And probably because I've tried to make it a little bit darker, and you don't have to cut that little guy out or right in here. I mean, if you are a really good inside cutter, then you can do that. Otherwise, you can use your blends. All right, and because I made it darker, I'm actually going to go and do the dark balmy blue. And it should be closer to the right color, including around her hat and her hand here. All right, like that. Okay, so we'll go through all of those. Okay, and just the same with what didn't make it, we'll fill in. So that's what I did for that. Now for her skin, I used the ivory color. I'll just do that part real quick. And again, I kind of decided to let it be really light on where the fireworks would be hitting her skin, or the light from the fireworks. So hopefully not the fireworks themselves. Okay, and the same on this arm. Like that, like so. And then you can just always go back and add just a little bit of color. Her top, her blouse, I used Calypso Coral in the light and the dark. And I'll just do that real quick, just a little bit, just to show you what that looked like. And then I made it darker right in at the middle. And there I'm again imagining that that's where the light is hitting on the top there. And then her hair, what I did was I used the dark Daffodil Delight. Let's see which one this one is. There's the dark, okay. And I just kind of squiggled some of that around. And then I also used the bronze color. And I again figured that the firework lights from the fireworks would hit the edges of her hair. So I pretty much made it darker right at the back and let a little bit of the yellow show up on the sides. All right, the only other thing I'm seeing right now is that this needs to be darker right here with the dark balmy blue. That looks better. Okay, and then let's see, on her glass of wine, I made the glass part was blue. I might have to go back over with the darker one. And then I used dark Blackberry Bliss for her wine. And if it's possible, you can use just a little tiny, leave a little tiny reflection in there. Okay, and the stem, the glass stem again, it's the balmy blue, and I used the light soft suede for the post. And just like that, and then the rail, and then you would go back and where it's darkest, which would be probably right here, and then on the post right here where there would be a shadow. You can go back with that, and you can also go back and make it even darker with the darker shade. So, and I made her skirt the same color as her hat. So that is basically what I did. And then I used the, see if I've got one somewhere, there it is. I used the Misty Moonlight color, was my matte, and I matted it. And then as you can see, you've got a little bit of wiggle room if something was to be crooked and or whatever. So you've got a little bit of wiggle room with your paper there. And I didn't use any dimensionals because the inside is so immense that you don't need anything like that. But I did use the subtle, I think it's a subtle 3D subtle embossing folder for the top. So anyway, so there is that. That's how that was done. I think you'll really enjoy this stamp set, especially if you like to color. And hopefully you'll enjoy the whole card and that you will stay tuned for part 2. I'm not sure. I don't know if I can just make it automatically play, probably not. So you'll just, if you don't mind, to search for it, and then you can see how the mechanism goes together and the different products that I used for the inside of the card. So there it is. So fun. I'm so excited that it's a new year, and looking forward to how wonderful, hopefully, that 2022 will be. So Happy New Year in advance. And if you have time and you have some of these very same papers and things, maybe you'll be able to make one this year. And if not this year, you could save it up for next year. But it would also be a wonderful thing to do for a birthday as well, with perhaps their age, the year, or something like that. And it could say happy birthday in all kinds of different colors. So there is the project for today, at least half of it, and I hope you stay tuned and watch the second half. I also hope that you will subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I hope to be here at least, hopefully my goal is once a week to produce a video with a paper project, whether it be a card or something else. And I just love to share what I love, and I love the paper crafting. I love Stampin' Up. So come back and see me again in the Creative Treehouse. All right, bye-bye.